Hey guys, ever since the last video, I've been up to a lot more model making and scene building, mostly in the area of miniature dioramas. Additionally, in the past couple days, I've been creating some digital dioramas in Blender based around some World War II scenes. When finding inspiration for my next digital project, I went looking through family photographs for a scene to recreate. This is my great-grandfather, Rayburn, and during his service in the Korean War as part of maintaining an ammunition depot, he took a plethora of photos documenting his journey. While stumbling around some scenes which looked not only composition-wise good to create, but also had a unique storyline with it, and I found this picture of a tank stuck in the mud. The photo comes from a series of other photographs of other tanks in similar situations, and with people around them looking frustrated. And it shows, too. As written on the back of the picture, Gus kind of disgusted. I would be too, man. I thought of doing other photographs in this series, but to keep the accuracy of the event in its depiction, it would have cost me a few dollars, and personally, I like my money. So I began by opening up Blender, and with the photo on the other monitor, I began creating the new scene. The original Sherman model I had downloaded looked fine, considering I was trying to find a free model that had relatively similar build to the one in the original photo. However, the original Sherman had its turret facing backwards, and with this model I was unable to rotate the turret, so was stuck finding a new model. After finding a new tank asset in relatively quick time, this one actually having some extra detail like shovels and sticks, which would actually come later on, to be very helpful. Next, I tried my best to find an appropriate spot for the tank that somewhat matched the original material. I specifically picked this model for its puddled areas that seemed to shine, which would fit because in the corner of the original photo, there's the smallest puddle. If I were more of a master builder, as the characters in the Lego movie would have said, I would have modeled this scene from literally the ground up, taking regular shapes and morphing them into muddy plains and hills. But as stated before, there are free assets where all I have to do is download. And all the assets that I used for this project I will link down in the description. I then moved to the placement of the camera. I tried my best to frame the tank in the same area as the original and made sure the height of the lens seemed to be an appropriate height for someone standing some feet away. But the trickiest part, however, was adjusting the actual ratio of the lens. Me and numbers were always a tricky couple. Thus, that's why I stopped at geometry when I was in high school. As you can see, I even duplicated the terrain and extended out the scene so the horizon line looked a little better than just a close drop-off point to the end of the world. To help the horizon as well, I thought it was time to add the hillsides to the back. Thankfully, they were just two small humps, so there was no need for any detail or grandeur. Heads up now was the sun from the directional lighting I wanted to bring into the scene. This can either be the easiest or the most delicate process of Blender. It all depends on how you want the scene to look, as light, of course, allows you to see. Or at least sometimes, as you don't want to look directly into the light, but you get the point. Most of my other projects have this very dramatic light source casting shadows across the scene, yet the original material looks to be very flat in midday, so this is where a bit more of the creative side gets to come out. I then brought in this little dead tree, and I'm calling him Twisty because of the bend in the trunk and his various branches going off in different directions. And I aligned him to his appropriate area. In hindsight, I wish I had actually brought the tree closer in frame, as it would have looked more imposing like the original Twisty. When I was looking to the original photo, I noticed these wooden bars lined along the back, and this model actually held the perfect asset for this representation. However, before I put the tank in its position, I was an idiot and took off all the extra materials, like the wooden rods and even the shovel, which would have been very helpful to get this big guy out of the ground. One of the minor pieces in this digital diorama that really sells the scene and its original source material is this little decal I made that shows the registration markings to the unit. So I upload the image as a plane and slapped it on the back in the same location as the original. Now it was looking spiffy and official. Now, the unfortunate thing with using free assets is that there isn't a model, even if I were to pay for one, that looked like this fellow, Gus, on the right. The best I could find is this USGI, which does change the scene and its purpose, but I would rather have a figure in the shot to match the original than just having the tank sit alone with Twisty as a support. So finally, after applying the guide to the scene, doing some tweaks in the lens's depth of field, and adding some cinematic effects in post, I saved the image and called it as another one for the books. Thank you guys so much for watching. I thought this project was a really cool idea, and I think I will definitely do this more often with perhaps even other family photos or even ones online. Maybe I'll even make a series on this channel. And if you missed the documentary style content I had before, don't fret. I am still planning on having more coming in the future. But in the meantime, if you have other ideas for me to make into these digital dioramas, please leave a comment. I actually loved this kind of project. It was really cool. Or don't, honestly, because what do I know anyway? I'm just a piece of toast on the internet.